welcome to our Glendale City Council workshop. This meeting is for council members to review and discuss important issues, projects, and future council meeting agenda items. It's a work-study session only and allows the council to hear input from city staff. No action will be taken at this workshop, and there will not be an opportunity for public comment. This meeting is streaming live on Glendale's Facebook and YouTube pages and the city's cable television station, Glendale Channel 11. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Welcome to Glendale City Council Budget Workshop Session, March 30th, 2026. This meeting is called to order. I'm not going to call roll call because everybody's here if you take notice. One thing I would ask all the council members, I've already had a couple council members have told me that they had issues today that they would have to get addressed. So if we could kind of keep the meeting as tight as possible, kind of keep your questions. Anyway, let's keep it moving if we can, folks. So with that, Ms. Bauer, can you introduce item number 1?
Fiscal year 2026-27 budget workshop.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to kind of set the table for us today and then hand it off to our very capable finance and budget team to walk you through today's discussion. Please do ask any questions as we move along to get clarity on what is being brought before you. We're happy to answer those questions. We should have the majority information available to you. If not, we will get back to you just as quickly as we can with anything that you need additional insight into. Just high level for fiscal year 27's budget, I think we've discussed this before. It's a fiscally constrained budget. A lot of the impacts that have occurred due to actions at the state legislative level, as well as the federal level, as well as the incorporation of a large area of residents in Santan Valley, have had a significant impact on available ongoing revenues to the city. We've also been facing a lot of fiscal pressures with inflation, with some of our contracted services and supplies and materials, which have further constrained the budget. So what you'll see this coming fiscal year is a budget with fewer supplemental requests than you have seen in years past. We try to keep our focus on maintaining our workforce and our ability to compensate them through wages and benefits to keep them on par within the region, so we ensure that we reward our employees for the very valuable work they do for us, as well as stay competitive within our market and don't start losing employees to neighboring jurisdictions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Levi, and Levi and his team can take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner. I'll turn over this portion of the presentation to Jonathan Hill, our budget administrator. Or Amy, sorry.
Sorry. You guys are wrenched first thing. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Today we'll be walking you through the fiscal year 26-27 operating budget as part of our ongoing budget workshop series. This presentation will focus on department operating budgets, key changes since prior discussions, and major highlights. This slide shows the dates of the budget workshops and the voting meetings that are part of the fiscal year 26-27 budget development process. This meeting is the third of our 4 budget workshops where we will present and discuss the fiscal year 27 operating budget. On April 28th, we'll present the entire proposed fiscal year 27 budget, including operating, capital, debt service, and contingency. Tentative adoption is scheduled on May 12th. At that point, the maximum expenditure limitation is set upon adoption of the tentative budget, which means that after the tentative budget is adopted, the budget cannot increase. Final budget adoption and discussion of the property tax levy is scheduled for June 9th, and the adoption of the property tax levy is scheduled for June 23rd. This is today's agenda. We're going to start with a quick overview of the budget process and then cover follow-up items and changes since the last budget workshop. From there, we'll highlight key budget items, review personnel changes, and walk through the overall budget. We will also cover citywide supplementals before moving into the department presentation. So first, we're going to go through some key budget terms that you'll hear throughout the presentation today. The baseline budget serves as the starting point for developing the upcoming budget. The baseline budget is the approved fiscal year 26 budget less any one-time supplementals that were approved as part of the budget last fiscal year. Supplementals are any additions to the budget. A department can request supplementals as a one-time request or an ongoing addition to the budget. A one-time is only the upcoming year's budget and will not be added to future budget years. An example of a one-time request would be a computer or vehicle for a new FTE request. Those items are only purchased once at the time the employee is hired. Supplemental requests that are ongoing become a permanent addition to the department's operating budget. An example of an ongoing budget supplemental would be increases to contracts, utilities, or the addition of personnel. FTEs, or full-time equivalent, is a way to represent the total number of full work hours. An FTE with a weight of 1 represents a full-time employee that would typically work 40 hours a week. An FTE with a 0.5 would be considered a part-time employee working 20 hours a week. There are 3 main components of the operating budget. They are personnel, services and supplies, and internal charges. The personnel component consists of salary, benefits, retirement, and overtime. Changes in salaries are attributed to the recommended cost of living and merit pay increases for employees for the upcoming fiscal year. The HR department works with our benefit providers to determine what increase for benefits will be for the upcoming fiscal year. Increases in retirement are based on the rates for the Arizona State Retirement System, or ASRS, for non-represented employees, and Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, or PSPRS, for represented employees. If a department is requesting the addition of an FTE, this will also increase the personnel component of their budget. Any changes to the services and supplies component of the operating budget are done through supplemental requests. Most of the supplementals you will hear about today fall under this area of the budget. Internal charges are the amounts charged to the departments to cover the costs of shared internal services and resources that benefit all departments within the city. Some of the internal services included in this category are the cost of technology and the city's risk and workers' compensation insurance. Budget and Finance has internal service fund models that are updated annually on several factors, which are then used to distribute the costs of these internal services equitably among the departments. The development of the city's operating budget process begins around September or October of every year and officially ends when the budget is adopted by council the following June. The council workshop on March 30th, 2026 is where we are today. Today you will receive information regarding the fiscal year 27 operating budget requests, both on a citywide level as well as the department-specific request additions for next year's budget. Today is also the council's opportunity to ask any questions regarding the department's requested additions, as well as proposing additions or changes to the city manager's recommended budget as it's being presented. This flow chart shows the process of developing the operating budget. Staff develops the 5-year forecast, which were presented to council back in January. And based on the availability of funding in those financial forecasts, department directors prepare and submit budget supplementals for their departments. Each supplemental includes a description and justification of the request, as well as the cost of the addition to the budget. Once the departments have submitted their supplemental requests, the Budget and Finance Department does significant analysis. The department's current operating budget is reviewed to see if any one-time requests can be absorbed through existing savings. The Budget and Finance Department then uses financial models built from the revenue and expenditure assumptions in the 5-year forecast to determine the impact of each budget request. The supplemental requests are then provided to the city manager's office for review. Supplementals that are determined by the city manager's office to both be affordable in the financial models and operationally critical to the departments are then added to the city manager's proposed budget. Which brings us to our presentation today. Today you will be receiving information regarding the city manager's proposed operating budget for fiscal year 27, including the recommended cost of living adjustments, or COLA, and merit increases for staff, contractual and regulatory increases to the operating budget, and the addition of any key personnel. This meeting is also City Council's opportunity to ask the departments any questions they have about proposed supplemental requests and discuss anything you would like to have added to the fiscal year 27 operating budget. Items that receive council consensus will be then taken back by the Budget and Finance Department and added to the financial models to determine affordability. The next step in the process is to plug any recommended additions or changes received by City Council today into those financial models. Because we present a balanced budget to City Council, it's possible that the addition of something that is a City Council priority can result in the removal of a previously recommended supplemental. On April 28th, we will have another budget workshop where all the changes that have been discussed during both the capital improvement plan and operating budget workshops will be included in the fiscal year 27 city manager's recommended budget. Once we receive council consensus to move forward with all those recommended changes to the budget, we will move into the formal adoption process. The next few slides we will share are the changes and follow-up items since our last budget workshop on March 3rd, when we presented the proposed fiscal year 27 through 36 CIP budget. Following the CIP budget workshop, we made 3 updates to the Parks Capital Improvement Plan. For the Thunderbird Conservation Park project, we added $97,000 in bond issuance costs for fiscal year 26 through 27 for the open space and trail bonds that will be issued for this project. For Northern Horizon Park improvements, we've added $100,000 in fiscal year 27 through 28 to fund a master plan. And similarly have done the same for Orangewood Park improvements. Another $100,000 was added in fiscal year 27 to 28 for a master plan for that park as well. There were also 3 adjustments to the Transportation Capital Improvement Plan. For the Mountain View Road from 43rd to 59th Avenue project, we added $1,160 in bond issuance costs for street bonds that will be issued for that project. The telecom conduits project the funding moved from an ongoing basis to a one-time basis, so it will be added back annually if the need is there. And for the right-of-way landscaping plan, we shifted the funding source from the general fund capital fund to the transportation sales tax fund. This next slide lists the changes that were made to the facilities CIP. The changes to the projects listed here were mostly done in years 6 through 10. Over the past few years, the city has made significant investments in renovating and improving several of our existing facilities. And because of that progress, some projects or programs have been rescheduled or rescoped in the out years to better align with updated utilization assumptions and operational priorities. The Palmer project is currently unfunded as staff is awaiting direction on the future use of that particular space. And following that guidance, the project will be reevaluated and potential funding identified.
Mayor? Thank you, Mayor. What about the Ops Campus? I know that's an ongoing conversation, but should that be on this list too? Or are we just leaving it how it exists in the CIP, but what are we doing with the Ops Campus? I went back through the minutes when we had the discussion during the CIP, but.
Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Tomaszov, that project has not changed since it was presented on March 3rd. I believe we have funding in fiscal year 27 for the enterprise funds that are contributing to that project. And then the general obligation bond funding that was originally proposed to be kind of further up in the plan has been moved back. I think we're also in the process of awaiting a determination of whether we're going to do a bond election this year. And then once that determination is made, we'll be able to figure out how we're going to fund that particular project.
Okay, how are we going to determine whether, I know there was some differing views on whether we were going to do a bond election this year or next year. Are we still looking at doing a special election, or?
Mayor, members of the council, we'll be coming back to you with that information. It's, part of the bond committee process, as you'll recall. Normally we do a survey and then we present those survey results, and because we're doing the Parks Commission and the Library Commission and the bond committee, all 3 of those are in the process of evaluating that before they make their recommendations to you, and then we'll bring those recommendations to you. So it's in the process.
Okay, all right, and the reason I'm asking, just so I can explain, is because if we're going to, if we decide to not pursue the bonds, whatever we're going to have to, and I know there has been some discussion about using fund balance instead, so that would have to be decided in the budget. So, I mean, that's kind of the timeline we're working with. Otherwise, that's not an option anymore once we adopt the budget. So I just wanted to make sure that we're on that timeline. Otherwise, we're going to have to wait another whole year to be able to do it. If we don't have that spend in this year's budget, then we can't spend it. If it's decided, if the recommendation is don't go out for bond, use general fund, excess fund balance. But if it's not in the budget, then we can't, then that's not an option. So that's why I want to make sure that the conversation stays in the forefront.
We've established a new dedicated fund, Fund 1070, specifically for Camelback Ranch improvements. Previously, those funds were held in the General Government Capital Projects Fund. The new fund improves financial clarity and accountability for that facility. We've also allocated one-time revenues to this fund, including Inflation Reduction Act refundable tax credits and City of Phoenix construction sales tax rebates. A memo was emailed to council on March 9th with the following updates. Oh, sorry.
Mayor, members of the council, can you go back one? I just wanted to clarify a couple of things here. So these Inflation Reduction Act credits is something that Mr. Gibson looked at. These are, we're not a taxable entity. And so at one point, we were not eligible to apply for this type of credit. But there were some changes in the rules and we became eligible. So these are for like energy efficiency measures that we put in, solar, different things like that, that other types of entities that were non-governments would get rebates for. And as I said, we were not eligible, but now are. And so Mr. Gibson has applied for those rebates. And they're in the neighborhood of, how much, Levi?
It's about $1.1 million in rebates.
And so that's just a funding source that we, kind of weren't expecting. So we're setting it aside. And then in addition to that, we discovered that the City of Phoenix, we have a revenue sharing agreement with them at Camelback Ranch, but the original construction that took place at Camelback Ranch, those contractors never, the City of Phoenix never rebated us our share of the sales tax on the original construction. And so again, Mr. Gibson and his staff are working now with the City of Phoenix to determine how much they owe us in back sales tax on that construction. And once, I don't have a number for you right now, but once we have that, we'll update you and let you know the number. And then the intent is to set that aside also for future capital needs at Camelback Ranch.
Mayor? Vicki, how many years back is that?
Mayor, members of the council, it goes back to when it was originally constructed in 2008, 2006, 7, 8,
Okay.
that time frame.
Thank you, Vicki, and Levi, very much. Is there other construction tax revenue out there that we should be sharing with Phoenix that's in that same area that was part of that whole proposal originally, the housing, the apartment complex that's gone in and some of that other stuff?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Turner, I'm not aware of any other, but as they go through this process, they're going all the way back and looking at everything that should have been paid to us in the revenue sharing agreement. So we'll capture whatever was owed to us.
Thank you. And please be watchful for things that weren't just on the Camelback Ranch site itself, but were part of the whole proposal. Thanks.
Okay, so a memo was emailed to council on March 9th with the following updates from the CIP budget workshop on March 3rd. Council was provided an updated reference sheet to help identify the CIP funding sources. We determined that the Arts Master Plan was paid for from the Municipal Arts Program project during fiscal years 24 and 25. And because the original invoices can't be moved to the correct project because it's in prior closed fiscal years, we processed a budget transfer of $100,000 from the Arts Master Plan project to the Municipal Arts Program project to cover those invoices. This adjustment will close the Arts Master Plan project and restore the Municipal Arts Program project for the full budget. We provided an updated remaining budget for the police evidence storage facility project. In the CIP reports that were provided to council, the estimated carryover was about $5 million. At the end of the memo date at the date of March 9th, at the time of the memo, the remaining project budget's about $2.5 million. And we are anticipating to finalize this project this year, which would result in no carryover in fiscal year 27 and an estimated project savings of about $2 million that will be able to go to other public safety bond projects. One additional organizational change to note, the council was notified on March 17th that the Special Events Division is moving from the Economic Development Department to the Parks and Recreation Department. This transition includes 100% of the division's budget and all 3 of its FTEs, and that change was effective on March 21st. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Mr. Gibson.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. So this chart shows our general obligation bond annual debt service, both principal and interest, projected through fiscal year 2044. The horizontal blue line represents our debt service capacity, and the bidirectional arrow near 2033 highlights the available headroom between our current service levels and our capacity. So that white space represents additional bonds that we can issue over time as previous bond issuances are paid off. This table shows the remaining bond authorization across all our bond-funded programs through fiscal year 36. Numbers in parentheses indicate where projected spending will exceed remaining authorization, which signals future voter authorization may be needed. You can see streets and flood control remain in positive territory well into the forecast. Public safety turns negative beginning in fiscal year 30, and parks turns negative starting in fiscal year 28. And the library follows a similar pattern. These figures will be important context as we evaluate capital requests going forward. One item that we were requested to bring back additional information was regarding the indoor shooting range. This slide outlines the preliminary cost estimates for the proposed indoor shooting range. The facility construction cost is estimated to be between 20 and 30 million, excluding any debt service, with annual operating expenses projected between 500,000 and 800,000. Our current public safety bond authority stands at $99.7 million, of which 12.2 million is already allocated to proposed fiscal year 27 CIP projects. Based on the current CIP plan, additional bond authority would be required starting in fiscal year 30 if the city were to pursue this facility. We've identified 4 potential funding approaches for council's consideration. Option 1 would use existing public safety GO bond authority. Option 2 would similarly use that bond authority, but debt service payments would be offset by revenue generated from the Reigns operations. Option 3 would use excise tax revenue bonds, and option 4 would be a combination of debt and general fund resources. At this point, we'd like to pause for any council discussion and direction on whether or not we should add the CIP or this project to the CIP. I would like to point out that if it were to be added to the CIP, it would be at a placeholder within the CIP until such a time that negotiations with the Air Force could occur and other additional work would need to happen to be able to give you final numbers on this project.
All right, and to be clear, this would be a placeholder.
Correct.
We're not spending the money today, we're just allowing the opportunity we could once we get more information.
Correct. That's correct, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Where would you put it as a placeholder? In years 6 through 10? I mean, clearly, there's no money for it in years 1, this next fiscal year and then the 4 following fiscal years, so.
Mayor, Councilmember Tomelshoff, I think the recommendation from Budget and Finance would put it in fiscal year 28 to allow time for negotiations to occur if this were to be pursued with the Air Force, knowing that as a placeholder during next year's budget cycle, it can move back or forward. But at this point, if we would like to add it to the CIP as a placeholder, we just need direction from council.
May I continue, Mayor? Thank you. Because I pulled up the minutes from the CIP discussion, and even the mayor said the suggestion to add the project to a future public safety bond, that he was okay with that suggestion, because clearly if you look at the slide on page 16, we don't have the money for the projects we already told the voters we were going to do. We literally, we're spending down our authority on public safety, and we're going to I mean, we're going to be down to $18 million, which is not going to be enough to do this, and I'm sure there's projects included in that $18 million that were on the bond that was already passed by the voters. So that's one thing. And my thought is, I mean, we've already, as a city, been a leader in a regional approach to public safety training with Gripstick. And now we're using that same approach. That was one of the reasons that the forensics lab has been delayed, because of the cost of building it and then the cost of operating it. We're using a regional approach now, I believe, for the forensics lab, which I think is smart planning. And I think we should give staff plenty of time to have discussions with our regional partners about a regional approach. I mean, every city doesn't need one of these. And then there's a cost sharing piece of using a regional approach, which I think is prudent and responsible, because this is something that could be easily shared as a regional facility to help offset the cost of between 500 and 800 million a year. If you look in our new FTEs, 8 patrol officers are $614,000. So as we reduce these costs down, we have more money to spend on other things public safety needs, including, and the operating cost would be in the budget, not the CIP, to hire more police officers. I think that the regional approach, we need to have more time. I don't think we're at a decision point on this. I think we need to have more time for Mr. St. John and other people to be discussing this with other cities and seeing, is there an interest in a regional facility? Still in combination with the Air Force, that's still an opportunity that may or may not happen. But pursuing it as a regional facility to help offset the cost of, we get some money back on the construction cost, and then we get a lot of help on the operating cost in a regional approach. So I feel like that's where we should be thinking and moving forward with this. And we clearly don't have the bond capacity to put it in fiscal year 2028 without pushing back another project. So for me, I feel like we continue the discussion. We put it in a placeholder for year 2031. We can always move it up, but I don't feel like we're in any position to be committing to starting something like this in fiscal year 2028 when we clearly don't have the capacity in the slate of projects that the council's already said yes to, and the voters have already said yes to, that we don't have the capacity to put this in fiscal year 2028. Thank you, Mayor.
Good.
Yeah.
Turner. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with that. It's not that it sounds like we're placeholding the project, but we're placeholding the funds for the project. And as the council member just mentioned, we don't have enough money available right now to do the high value requests that have been on the board and in the pipeline from public safety. And I would rather that we retained money available to that. If we're placeholding anything, let's placehold the things that they actually are requesting and things that have been promised to the public in bond elections. I think if there's negotiating with the federal government to be done, then let that, see if that pans out first. The regional concept of this, it does seem kind of crazy that every city of, top 100 cities, top 200 population cities in America, or whatever the line would be, needs to have a facility of this type of their own. I've heard a few times that Goodyear's in the process and much farther down the process in doing a facility similar to this with the Air Force in Goodyear. And if that's the case, I just can't see that we need 2 on the west side, or 3 if Peoria decides to upgrade, or 4 if Phoenix wants to put one over here, or 5 if another community on the West Valley decides they need one too. So it hasn't been part of our regional training program. I don't hear hue and cry from our police department that they need it, but and if so, I think that we should figure out how to do it on a regional basis and on our Gripstick site, and go forward, if at all, go forward sometime in the future and not earmark money now for it when we have other needs. Thank you.
Ms. Guzman?
I just wanted clarity. So you're asking to put a placeholder for the funds also?
Mayor, members of the council, no, a placeholder is just a budget holder for the project. We haven't identified a funding source, and if you, do you want to go back to the previous slide? If you're, this is what we're saying, is there are various options. One option is to use existing authority, another would be to have an election, another option would be to use that authority but show a revenue coming back on some kind of shared revenue model, as you've discussed. Another is to find a different type of funding source, like excise tax revenue bonds. We may, that would come from general fund revenues as opposed to coming from general obligation debt, which is secondary property tax. And then the third is some combination. So you could use a combination of these different types of debt and general fund balance if you wanted. But because we don't know which one of these, we would say put a placeholder in, and the suggestion was for fiscal year 28, but could be at any point. And then between now and then, we would look at these different options, and you would know perhaps by then if someone else is going to join with us in this shooting range, but it wouldn't have an identified funding source at this point.
Okay, so it's not going to tie up any funds. It's basically just holding it so that we can get all the information that we need.
Mayor, members of the council, that's correct.
Oh, okay. I do also support the idea of us looking at maybe it being a regional facility like Gripstick. I am for putting it as a placeholder, as long as, like you explained, we're not actually allocating any funds for it. We're just saying, let's hold it there to discuss.
All right, I need to clarify a few things. There's some things, inaccuracies been stated. Goodyear is not way closer down the road. In fact, Goodyear made the statement that they were close, and then we just found out 2 weeks ago that they're 2 years further behind than they thought they were. I was in Washington, D.C. about 3 weeks ago, I believe, 4 weeks ago, and I talked with the gentleman that makes the decision on the award for the shooting range. And when he had found out what we had done, what things were said, the whole way that everything happened, they have not awarded Goodyear the shooting range, even though there was a lot of talk of that. In fact, what DOD, DOW, I'm not sure which three-letter identifier they're using right now, they're going to go back and they're going to put it back out to find out what's the best partnership that you can get with DOD, with Luke Air Force Base and the cities. With that said, I did speak with our chief. The chief did say that he does have a desire for this, but he also conveyed with me that something even as important would be simulations where they can practice live fire in real case scenarios. And right now it's difficult for them to do that. We just were asked a couple weeks ago to put more money into out near the landfill to keep ammunition, live ammunition from basically going over the fence. If we do Luke, if we were able to put a partnership together with Luke, we get a lot of money back, and that would not be advantageous to work with other cities. It just would not, only for the fact that Luke would have priority on the scheduling, but then they also pay the yeoman's part of the share of the cost, along with operating cost, and then refunding money back to what it actually cost our city. I think it'd be crazy for us to say, no, we don't want to do it. We want to wait 5, 6 years to decide if we want to do it or not. I think we need to hold a placeholder, find out what DOD is willing to do for us, and if we can put a deal together where they're paying a huge percentage along with operating costs, there's no reason why we shouldn't move forward. And yeah, the statement is true. I would work my tail off to make sure a bond passed to help with this, because again, I made the statement, I feel that our officers should be as proficient as possible. Their muscle memory needs to be 100%, not 80% or 75%. And then the opportunity for them to stay proficient year-round, not just when it's cool enough for them to go out and go to the range. So with that, I would ask everybody if you'd at least allow for a placeholder. Let us keep this thing moving forward and see where the cards fall down the future. But right now, if we take a stand, we don't want to do anything for 4 or 5 years. I think we're not being wise.
Mayor, may I?
Go ahead.
Thank you. And I'm absolutely agree with the placeholder. My question is though, in fiscal year 2028, in fiscal year 2028, we clearly don't even have enough money for this as a placeholder. I mean, I know you said you're going to figure that part out, but I guess, you know, for planning for public safety projects, how would putting this as a placeholder in fiscal year 2028, because projects that are going to be coming up out of the ground, for example, the forensics lab or whatever else that public safety is doing for planning for funding projects that are already in the pipeline, how would putting a placeholder for somewhere around $30 million when there's literally only $18 million in capacity in fiscal year 2028, how would that affect projects that are, you know, getting close to finish and design and now going to be ready to actually start construction because they've got to have money in each fiscal year to go through their construction schedule? So can you explain to us how this would affect that?
Mayor, members of the council, there's a couple of options here, but it wouldn't affect it unless we actually went and issued those bonds. And so knowing that it's a placeholder and it's just sitting there, we wouldn't issue the bonds. And the other projects that are there that we do have capacity for, we just issue bonds for those. But an option that we could do is we could put it in its own category for now, just so it calls attention to it that it's there, but that it needs its own type of election. So we can add a category literally to that table, if you want to go back to the table, that says, you know, GO bond authorization shooting house or shooting range or whatever it's called. And then that way it doesn't look like it's taking from public safety, even though I'm comfortable that if we put it in public safety, we would not use that authority. But if you put it there, yes, it will appear that you need the authority much sooner. But for the purpose of this exercise, we can put it in its own category for now. So it doesn't take away and subtract from the public safety authorization while we analyze it, and then it'll get moved somewhere else if we find a different funding source, or it will get funded if we pass a bond.
Mayor, I like that idea because my concern is that you've got all kinds of competing projects. I mean, clearly we're running out of authority before we're even able to finish the projects that were in the last bond package because of inflation and increasing costs. So we don't even have enough money to finish what we already took to the voters. So putting another project in here, I think it creates some kind of an issue for planning purposes, because I imagine there's quite a few projects that are going to be being started in fiscal year 2027 that are planning on having funding authority in fiscal year 2028 that need to know that that money is going to be available, that they're not going to be competing for some other project. It's not that I don't support the project. I just feel like making it clear that whatever projects, that we don't interrupt the stream of money for projects that are already basically coming out of the ground. So I would rather put this in a separate category so that we understand that we still have a lot of discussions to have. The DOD thing, I mean, I hope that comes through, but I think those discussions started well before there was a war or whatever this is being called. I mean, the budget is the budget, but this is, you know, I mean, this is a big expense for the Department of Defense already. I personally don't have any idea how they decide where they're going to put partnerships, whether it's with, you know, the Air Force, who generally are not on the ground, they're in the air. So I just don't know enough about it to bump back, or to at least insinuate that we're bumping back projects that the voters approved. So I would prefer to put this in a separate category, as like under a TBD, that we're going to figure out how we're going to fund this, go out for bond. I did ask for an item of special interest, and I know I'm going to be meeting with the two of you soon about discussing getting a bond out for public safety, so we have a better understanding of how we're going to be able to fund public safety projects. So I think this is all part of that conversation. So I would be willing to give a consent, my approval for putting a separate line in here for the shooting range, and we continue to work on it and towards figuring out how we're going to do it, but that it's not just under general public safety bonds. Thank you.
All right. And I want to clarify a couple things. Every personnel from Luke Air Force Base that is sent overseas has to go through specialty training before they are deployed. Everyone. Makes no difference. So it makes no difference if they're a pilot or crew. There's a lot of ground forces, there's a lot of support. Every one of them have to go through that before they deploy. But they're doing that now. They do it all the time. So my point is, the war has nothing to do with it, and the war has everything to do with it. They want them to stay proficient. And for our officers, I want the same thing. Every day they clock in, they go to work, I want them to be proficient.
Just want to clarify, I'm not saying I don't want
I
it. I'm
understand
saying I
that.
think we need to have a more responsible plan for it.
I understand that. Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for clarity, I was the one who said that we're earmarking money, and then I was told we weren't earmarking money, but everything we saw on that chart just a minute ago had a dollar amount assigned to it, and it wasn't until the latter part of that conversation that we talked about creating a new category, which I guess would have a zero in it, until we did something. And if we can look at slide 18, please. The options were presented. I know my eyesight's not the best, but I don't see the word up there, election, anywhere, as if we're going to hold a bond election to fund this and give the voters a chance to decide whether this is how they think their money can best be spent. I see existing funds, but I don't see bond election up there. Am I missing that, or is it not up there?
Mayor, I believe the city manager wanted to make a comment.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Maybe to help with this, if I could reframe how we're looking at this, as opposed to a project that would go up on a list of GEO-funded, identified projects in their various categories. It's pretty common for cities to do master planning processes as they move into a space to understand what it is that needs to be built, what it would look like, if there's partnerships, and as part of that funding. I think that may be a better way to look at this, because if I'm hearing correctly from everyone that's spoken to date, it sounds like there's consensus to explore this further, which would be the next step for us would be to take a process to understand, are there partners that could be involved, whether the Air Force and or other cities? What would be the scope and cost and location of the facility? What would those funding streams look like? Would partners bring capital dollars in addition to operating dollars? And then for staff to come back with some recommendations of what's the best way to fund this and balancing all the interests and projects we have. Is it a GEO bond issue? Is it excise, as is up on the slide? I'd view this more as the next step in a master planning process for a potential shooting range for our community and potentially regional partners as well.
And Mayor and City Manager, I don't object at all to going back to ground zero on planning this and to trying to see from a global perspective, if we're going to do this, what's the best way and the best location and everything else. I wouldn't object to that. Until this moment, that concept hasn't been presented. But at the last time we talked about this, we seemed to be gelling around the idea, and the mayor was in agreement with it, that we could put it up on a standalone bond election. And then we're given 4 options here that don't include that, and I don't understand why. If you want to put option 5, standalone bond election, up there, and then the placeholder, if that passes, that would be fine, if the public's telling us that's what they want. But you might notice I'm starting to get a little irritated because my question's being danced around, that we aren't listed that option, which is where we all gelled around it the last time we talked about this. There should be an option up there for the standalone, and we should be able to choose that if we want. And now we have an option of going basically back to ground zero and doing a global, holistic look at this, and I would support that. I'm not trying to deprive our public safety of something they might actually truly need in the priority order that they decide they need it. I've always supported public safety. I just don't see this as being one of that project. As I said in the past, this seems to be, personally, opinion, more of a vanity project. So if we want to start holistically and looking at this as we probably should have from the first, from a staff-driven point of view versus a elected official-driven point of view, then let's do that. Thank you.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not advocating for a standalone bond project because we clearly need more capacity to finish the slate of projects already in public safety. So I just wanted to clarify that. I mean, I was thinking, at least from my point of view, is include it in a list of bond public safety projects if we go out for bond, like we did last time. We had a whole list of projects that the, bond committee went through and all of that. So I wouldn't, because we clearly need more authority for public safety, I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't suggesting that we go out for bonds simply just to fund this, that it's a slate of projects to finish out. I mean, we've got a lot of things we still need to do for public safety. So, and I understand there's bond authority capacity and a debt service capacity, and then there's also actual capacity to actually execute the project. So, I mean, there's a lot of, moving pieces when we do this kind of thing, but that's what I was referring to. Thank you.
Excuse me. You done?
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question. I cannot make a decision that we're going to do this for sure until we get a lot more information. And I think that's what we're asking today, is that we move it forward to see if it's feasible, if we're going to make it happen. My question is, these estimates you put out here, 20 to 30 plus the operating cost, are those would be the actual cost that only Glendale has to pay, or do we not know that yet because we don't know what the federal government's going to do, we don't know what other cities are going to do, so we don't really know what that dollar amount really is. We only know how much it could possibly cost, but not that it's necessarily the Glendale's city's responsibility. Is that correct?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Malinar. So yes, that's the entire estimated cost of the project based on the numbers that were brought to council by Mr. Lee, I believe it was over a year ago. If this were to be bond funded, Glendale would have to pay out the costs, and then partners could reimburse the city. But essentially, we have to plan as if we were paying the whole amount, and then other sources of revenue or other sources of repayment can occur, but we don't know that yet, so that's why we've not included those pieces.
Okay, and that was my point. To me, it seems like there's not enough information really to know how we're going to move this project forward until we move it forward in a more detailed study. And so that's why I would be in favor of at least moving it forward to make sure that it is moved forward, some sort of placeholder so that it doesn't get forgotten. Because if we don't do that, then it doesn't become a priority for the city. So putting it as a placeholder, I think, is a proper way to doing it. I don't know where that's going to be, but I think we need to do that so that we can then come back in a year or 2 years or however long it's going to take to determine if this is feasible to even do and how it would be paid for, and then determine at that point what the revenue sources would be required to ask the public for a bond or whatever else we're going to do. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Guzman.
Yeah. As long as we aren't committing any funds to it, I don't see what the big deal is to put it as a placeholder. We're asking all these questions. We need answers. So if we put it as a placeholder, you are able to come back and give us those answers. We're not committing any funds to it right now, correct?
Mayor, members of the council, that's correct.
Okay. Well, I agree with putting it as a placeholder.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to ask the city manager to kind of at least explain to me, how would the master plan, how would this, if we did it that way, where we're not actually committing any dollars, because like I said, there's $28 in the CIP already that are committed to projects that are going to be coming out of the ground. So I feel like putting it as a placeholder in 2028 creates confusion and uncertainty for staff that's working on these projects. So I personally prefer to put it, as the city manager suggested, create a category for this. So could you kind of walk us through of how that would look on this slide 16?
So slide 16 is showing projects for GO bond authorization that is remaining across our various accounts. This would not have a predetermined designation as a GO bond funded project. That would be part of the process for us to explore all available avenues for funding and sources of funding as part of the larger effort to understand number of partners, types of partners, size and scale of the facility, location of the facility. That would all be brought back for future council discussion and consideration.
Mayor, may I? So that, but it would basically memorialize or formalize the council's wants to continue the discussion. We're committing to, and, going through the process and figuring it out, but we're not allocating any dollars to it, which is essentially a placeholder, what we're talking about.
Mayor, Councilman Tomachov, that is correct. We may come back with a contingency request of council to, if we need to commission or hire various consultants as part of this process, but that would come back for a decision at that time.
Okay, I think, I appreciate his advice, and I think that's the way to go. It's a commitment to continue the discussion, figure it out, but we're not creating any confusion or competition for the fiscal year 2028, $18 million that's available now for projects that are already in the pipeline. So I feel like that's probably the most responsible way to move forward.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I say this often when I get into conversations about stuff that I don't have full grasp of the details, and I always tell them, and I'm sure people in this room have said this, talk to me like I'm 8. And then you guys dumb it down for me, and then okay, and then I kind of get up to speed of what you're talking about. So if I may ask, and whoever wants to chime in can chime in, are we, and I say we, just everyone in this room or on the dais here, needing a placeholder like this bottle of water where it's empty, but we have the placeholder for this represents what it would cost, the 20 to 30 million operating costs. This is what it would be. But if we don't have this bottle of water kind of somewhere in the conversation, we can't move forward. But this is just representing what it would be. Moving forward, whether it was DOD or whatever was decided later, then to fill up this bottle of water to get where we would want to be. But we can't, we have to put something in place so that the conversation can fill this bottle later. And if we don't have this, it ain't going to matter if the DOD or anybody comes and says, hey, we want to do everything, but we don't have a placeholder for it. Whether we decide it's a combination of things, partnering with the other cities or whatever it is making a placeholder similar to like again, I'm trying to keep it real simple here for me and anybody else out there, that it's just a placeholder for, we're not committing funds, we're not doing anything, we just have to keep something in place so that we can continue the conversation. Whether that bottled water gets pushed back 10 years, 5 years, next year, it's in place. And we then make decisions that are the most advantageous financially for the city. Is that kind of what having a placeholder does for paperwork, for budgeting, for visual financial dynamics of everything?
Mayor, members of the council, yes, that's a good analogy. Even though we plan this 10-year CIP, recall the only thing that's going to get appropriated is next year. So if we put it in fiscal year 28, it's literally, like you said, just a shell, just a placeholder sitting there. All of the other things about it have to be determined by you at some point. How it's going to be funded, whether it's going to be a standalone bond election or part of some other bond election, whether we're even going to use those types of bonds to fund it. We gave an option of using a different type of bond or any type of debt and combination of debt and general funds. So literally, yes, it's sitting there unfunded, empty, so to speak, as you said, and then it's pending a whole bunch more discussions and decisions by you that will come in the future.
Thank you.
All right, there's a couple things I want to say to Mr. Baldonegro. One of the things with the Department of War, Department of Defense, is they need to know that we're interested and we're serious. If there's nothing anywhere on the books that says we're even interested in a project, we're not even going to be considered. And that consideration is and can be millions of dollars. So I want to take advantage of that if it's available. At the same time, Mr. Turner, I'm offended, you've said it twice now, about a vanity project. That's incredibly offensive for the fact that I'm concerned about the officer's safety, I'm concerned about our citizens' safety. For you to consider that a vanity project for me, very, very offensive, very offensive. So I know you could give a flip, but it is offensive, so I would appreciate if you not do that again. With that said, I would like to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and colleagues. I cannot support moving forward with this $20 to $30 million shooting range at this time, even as a placeholder, because a placeholder means that it's a priority of the council. And in the Cactus District, our residents are feeling the pressure. We're talking about the things that we've already done, $100 million for our new city hall, $14 million for our 800 parking spaces in the entertainment district, rising water rates, new electronic meters, increased trash costs. At the same time, we just lost the Operations Campus bond election by 12 votes. And that's funding that we truly needed to maintain that space and improve basic services and basic facilities that we already have. We also have debt service that needs to be paid back, and the Vi Resort is not close to opening, which we projected millions of dollars in funding through the TPT tax, the transaction privilege tax. I know some of you are going to say, it's coming from a specific source and it's just a placeholder. We're not doing anything right now. But the Cactus District residents are asking for more officers, for speed enforcement, for safer streets, for cleaner neighborhoods and investments and services that they rely on every day. They're asking for affordability. I mean, gas is through the roof right now, and we're in a very volatile economic situation right now. So right now, this is about priorities, and I cannot in good conscience support a project of this size when so many of our other core needs are unmet. Thank you, Mayor, for listening.
All right. Is there a consensus for a placeholder, as stated by Ms. Rios?
For the way the city manager recommended to do it, I'm okay with doing it with the way the city manager has recommended to carry it forward.
All right.
Yes, I give consensus.
We have got a consensus.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll turn over the presentation to Mr. Hill.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. This chart highlights our conservative budget approach by comparing the general fund city sales tax revenue we have received to what we budgeted. The blue bar represents our budgeted tax revenue, and the green represents the sales tax we have received. And as you can see, for the past 5 years, an estimated 6 years, the tax revenue we received surpassed our budgeted estimates. Similarly, this chart shows our actual expenditures compared to adopted budget. Actual spending has consistently come in below budget, which reflects our department's strong fiscal responsibility. The fiscal year 26 estimated figure is estimated based on the first half of the year's expenses. While budget amounts have grown that reflect increasing services demands and cost pressures, actual spend continues to track below appropriations. Now for the highlights of the proposed fiscal year 27 budget. The budget includes no property tax rate increases. This will be the 11th year in a row that council has decided not to increase property tax rates. We've maintained a conservative budget approach, and the majority of increases you see today are driven by regulatory requirements or contractual obligations. You'll see 28.5 new positions to support city operations. These include 6 positions converting from temporary to permanent in parks, 4.5 court security officers transitioning from contract to permanent, 8 police officers funded through a COPS grant, and 1 temporary to permanent HR position, and 2 IT positions converting from contract to permanent. On the public safety side, increases are aligned with the current MOU. A significant focus on the budget is employee retention and recruitment. We're recommending a 3% cost of living adjustment for non-represented employees, a merit increase of up to 2%, and the compensation and classification market study adjustments. The Risk Management and Workers' Compensation Trust Fund charge to the departments will be 0 this year, meaning no charge to the departments. This table summarizes 28.5 new.
Excuse me, could you explain to us why there's no charge? So you're basically saying none of the departments will have a trust, risk management trust charge?
Vice Mayor, Council, that's correct. So currently in both the Workers' Compensation Fund and the Risk Management Fund, there is excess fund balance above what is needed on that, based on the actuarials that we receive. And so the recommendation there is to not keep increasing that fund balance, essentially resulting in no charge to the departments for the next fiscal year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. So this table summarizes the 28.5 new FTE requests by department. The largest request comes from police services with 10 FTEs totaling $2.5 million, followed by city court with 4.5, and then water with 3.5. The total cost of these new positions is estimated at roughly $3.7 million. And here are the same positions, but broken down by fund type. As you can see, 21.5 are funded through general fund, mostly police, parks and recs, and city court. 1 is special revenue through transportation, and 3 are in the enterprise funds. And then we have 3 also in the internal service fund, which is IT and HR. The total FY27 operating budget across all funds is $713 million. The general fund represents the largest share at $341 million, or 48%, followed by enterprise fund at $146 million, or 21%. Internal service funds account for $126 million. And we have special revenue funds that make up $87 million. And the vehicle replacement fund accounts for $13 million, or 2%. Within the $340 million general fund, police services is the largest function at $150 million, or 44% of the budget. Fire is at $70 million, or 21%. And then public safety accounts for 2/3 of the general fund budget. The remaining departments include other departments, such as budget and finance, city manager, city court, emergency management, and so on. And that's at $59 million. Then we have Parks and Rec at 23, Public Works at $19 million, and then Community Services at $11 million. And then non-departmental is listed at $9 million. There are 2 citywide supplemental requests this year, both ongoing. The first is car allowance for directors at approximately $59,000. The second reflects the HR February reclassifications that was approved by council on the February council at $196,000. The combined citywide supplementals is $255,000. Now we'll review the FY27 operating budget request for each department. As we go through the department sections, the departments are here to answer any questions you may have about their supplemental request. If you have questions, I can stop at that slide, and the department can come up to the podium to respond to any questions.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I have a quick question. Going back to page 27, what are non-departmental?
Mayor, Councilmember Guzman. So non-departmental are things that don't necessarily belong to any department. So one of the examples that I can give you is ASTA payments that the city rebates sales tax back to ASTA are paid out of there. And another example that is paid out of there is a few years ago, the legislature I'll call it passed on a cost to the cities for administration of transaction privilege tax, and DOR is installing a new computer system, and so they charge the cities an amount every year. We budget that amount within non-departmental. So there's things like that that happen in there that don't necessarily belong to any department.
Mayor? Thank you. Before we go ahead, I just wanted to, I guess, make a comment and ask a question. The amount of information, basically, it's like a single page per department. In previous years, we've been supplied with a lot more information about the work that that department's doing. It's kind of a snapshot of, objectives, accomplishments, that type of thing. Not only for us, but for the taxpayers who are funding all of this. So I'm just curious, are we going to have access to that type of information this budget cycle?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Tomchoff, we can provide you, we're in the process of updating a lot of that information with the departments currently as far as their performance measures and things like that. And once we get that information updated, we can provide that to you.
Presented publicly or just in the final budget?
Mayor, members of the council, we have another workshop on the 28th of April, and we can provide that information at that time.
Very good, thank you.
So before we begin the individual department presentations, I want to note that 6 departments submitted no request for the fiscal year 27. These departments are audit, city attorney, city clerk's office, engineer, intergov, and non-departmental. They're operating within their baseline budgets, and combined they have 82 FTEs and nearly 23 million in budgeted expenditures. The Budget and Finance Department operates with a budget of 13.8 million, and we have 76.5 FTEs. Our purpose is to provide financial management services with integrity and accountability while improving service levels, managing costs, and leveraging information across city departments. Budget and Finance has one request this year. That's out of the Water Fund, requesting an ongoing increase of $172,000 to cover the rising credit card processing fees. The increase reflects higher transaction volumes and vendor rate charges. Next, we have City Court. City Court has a budget of 8.2 million, and they have 51 FTEs. The court's purpose is to ensure access to fair and impartial justice by providing excellent customer service and accurate information in a timely manner to foster community trust and confidence. City Court has 3 requests. First is 3.5 new security officers from the general fund. These positions, along with the supervisor, are converted from contract security to a permanent city employees. The third one from the court security is moving court security officer, or an officer that's under the court security bonds, and that will be absorbed by the police department at $140,000.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why are you moving that court officer to the police department?
Mayor and council, I believe there are 3 officers, and the other 2 are currently under the police budget, and so this just aligns now all of them under the police department's budget.
So is he physically going over there, or is just,
No, just budget, just
oh, just the
financially.
budget, okay. Okay, thank you.
The city manager's office has a budget of 6.9 million and 31 FTEs across 2 divisions, administration and code compliance. The department's purpose statement is simply to create organizational strategy for success. The city manager's office has 2 ongoing requests from the general fund. The first is a $150,000 increase for professional contractual services related to code compliance, animal control operations. And the second is a transfer to move the GEEK, or Glendale Employee Engagement Committee budget, which was previously housed in the Human Resources Department, and move that to the city manager's office, reflecting where that function is now managed.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Could you, actually, I'd like to have a better, I'm not sure I understand what the 1,000 general fund change is, for code compliance, contractual code. Can you explain that to me, please?
Yeah, Mr. St. John will come up.
Thank you. And while we're waiting, what is GEEK?
GEEK is not me, it is the Glendale Employee Engagement Committee.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I believe the question is, what is the $150,000 that we're asking for going to go towards?
Right.
And so we have 3 agreements with different entities in our community for animal control services. The first is with Maricopa County Animal Care and Control. That is a relatively new agreement. And when we entered that agreement, we had a cost that we thought would be associated based on the usage. So they deal with strays and general animal activities that our constituents need help with. So they'll go out and they'll provide services across a wide range of of service options for our community. The second is Arizona Humane Society. The Arizona Humane Society handles cruelty cases and injured animals. So if county goes out and they find a stray that's injured, they take that stray to Arizona Humane Society. We have an agreement with Arizona Humane Society to manage those for our community. Their cost doubled in the last request for proposal process. And so as a staff for the city reached out to multiple different cities across the state that Arizona Humane Society serves to find out if they were experiencing the same cost increase, and the answer was yes across the board. We talked to several different cities here in the valley. I also talked to Yuma. They actually called me to find out if we were experiencing the same cost increase, to which I told them we were. And then the third contract is for dead animal pickup. So when an animal is run over by a car or otherwise is deceased in our public roadways or right-of-way, then this company, All Animal Rescue and Transport, will come out, collect, and dispose of those bodies. And that's a relatively low contractual obligation. I think we're paying in the neighborhood of $4,000 a month or something like that for that service.
Mayor? Thank you, Mr. St. John. Thank you for the explanation. I do have another question, so don't leave. There was an increase asked for the Animal Defense League of Arizona, and I believe that their primary function that the city contracts with them for is for feral cats. Is that, are we renewing? I mean, I understand there was an increase asked for, but are we renewing? I don't have a huge problem with feral cats as much as some other districts do, but the one I have had to engage with residents who've tried to work with them, there's been some issues with how they handle. They basically want the residents to do everything. So I'm not exactly sure what we're paying for. So are we renewing a contract with them, or I just want to make sure I understand where we're at with the Animal Defense League.
So Mayor, Councilmember Tomachov, we do have Kevin, before he left, our city manager, Kevin Phelps, made an administrative decision based on some information we were receiving from a couple of different council offices, Councilmember Turner, our Vice Mayor Melnar, increased problems with the feral cat community. And so I reached out to Animal Defense League along with their council assistants, had the conversation, hey, if we were to increase from $25,000 to $50,000 a year, what would be the net benefit for the city of Glendale? What would we see in return for that? And they are saying that they can essentially double the services that they're providing or had been providing since we've been allocating $25,000 towards their mission. What that exactly looks like, we're still negotiating. We understand that many constituents in the community would like to see them do more of the physical work, which is, I think, what you're alluding to, the trapping, the setting of traps, the monitoring of traps, those kinds of
Transporting the animal?
Transporting the animals, correct. So that will be part of the negotiation with the Animal Defense League and how they're providing service within our community.
Okay, so we're not really, we're still kind of in the middle of that?
Mayor, Councilmember Tomachov, yes, very much so.
Okay, so we'll know that before we actually put a $50,000 contract for them in the budget?
Mayor, Councilmember Tomachov, that will have to come back. No, actually, it may not have to come back. I think it'll have to come back to council because of the agreement. But, so yes, once we have negotiated the terms, then we'll come back with an agreement for council to review and approve.
Okay, I mean, I know it's within the administrative authority of the city manager, but it's an important service to residents in the city. So it's a kind of a unique situation because, like I said, I don't have too many feral cats. I have had a couple of issues with residents, and they were not really basically happy. They had to go pick up the trap. They had, basically, it's just we could have traps if that's what we were going to do and tell people, come get the trap, take they really weren't, at least from what I've been told, not really providing very much. So hopefully we'll be able to fix that. Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, just a point of clarification. That increase to the Animal Defense League is on the page of supplementals that was not moved forward. I just wanted to make sure we were all looking at the same thing.
Yes. Are there other places that do this type of work besides the Animal Defense League that we should maybe be looking to work with?
Mayor, Councilmember Tomachov, I talked to a couple of different entities, people that do animal care and control work within the community. And essentially what they've told me is feral cat issues are not anything they're willing to deal with. So I think the Animal Defense League is what we're left to negotiate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Communication operates with a budget of 2.7 million, and they have 12.5 FTEs. The mission of Communications Department is to develop and implement comprehensive strategies and programs that effectively and accurately communicate with city's key messages to target audiences in a clear and engaging way. They have one request this year, and it's a one-time request of $50,000 out of their general fund to produce the Glendale History Book. And it's a community-facing project that would document and celebrate the city's history. Next up is community services with a total budget of 57.7 million and 110.5 FTEs. Their mission is to build community through impactful services with a mission to be the national model for innovative community services. Community services has a broad set of requests across multiple funds. From the general fund, these include 47,000 one time for city janitorial support, 125,000 for one time of residential landscape improvement program, $2,000 ongoing for the system of care building maintenance, and 56,000 one time for workforce development support. The remaining requests are grant fund carryovers. We have the home grant, neighborhood stabilization, CDBG, and CBD or CB, one of those, CV1. And I got more of those too.
Mayor? I have a question.
Which one?
On the facilities citywide janitorial supplemental, can you explain that to me? How that works?
Yes, Ms. Hall will answer that for you.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So there was an increase, essentially the vendor is asking us all to pay more for the services as well. Minimum wage went up this year, so that creates that increase of $47,000 for all of our libraries for the year.
Okay, so the janitorial services for the libraries only?
This portion, yes.
This portion? Oh, okay. And then another question on the system of care building maintenance. You're talking about your guys' building that's in the back?
Correct, Building
Okay.
E, yes.
Building E, okay. I had one other question also. I don't think you guys have covered it yet. It's on the next page, but I'll go ahead and ask it anyways. The opioid settlement family carryover or funding carryover, what is that?
So the carryover dollars is what we have in the bank at this moment, the 1.8, that's available to spend.
So you haven't used any of those funds at all?
We've used very little, I believe $32,000 in the last 7 to 8 months.
And what is allowed to be used for that?
Mr. Bailey, you want to clarify that?
Levi knows, but yeah, it's a restricted.
Yeah. Mayor, Councilmember Guzman, so the opioid settlement funding, man, I should have had more caffeine this morning. What is a fund that was established based on a number of court cases and where the jurisdictions sued the manufacturers of opioid
Right.
drugs, right? So we get the settlement money in based on the agreement. There's certain restricted uses for those funds. I don't know, there's 7 of them off the top of my head. I don't know all 7, but one is Narcan, another is to help mitigate damage done by opioid addiction, those kind of things. But it is restricted based on the settlement agreements.
And this is the full amount, minus the 32,000 that you've used already?
This is the amount that we've received to date. There are additional settlements that are coming in.
Mayor and Council, this is an ongoing battle with the different pharmaceutical companies. So
Okay.
this is what we have to date. There's others that we anticipate coming in, and there's other elements or other potential litigation that may occur as well.
Okay, thank you.
You had one fast one?
Yeah, on the same question. Ms. Hall, do we have a process for, I know when we have our CDAC and basically people apply for funding that we have for a variety of programs, do we have a process for regional partners that we have that work with opioid issues that they can apply for these funds?
Mayor and council, yes, there is a process. About a year ago, we did have an RFP process where other agencies were allowed to apply for funds, but yes, there is a process.
Okay, so have we awarded quite a few, Mayor? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember, finish your question, and I want to add to it.
Well, I mean, it just seems like we have it's, the opioid problem still exists, and we have $1.8 million for counseling, whatever services that are provided within not necessarily by us, but always need funding. So I'm just surprised that at the amount of money that we still have. Have we given out a lot of money already, or?
Mayor and council, no, we have not. However, we'll be bringing forward probably in the next 30 to 45 days a proposal to the council around how we can spend down some of those dollars to be supportive to community.
Excellent, thank you.
That's good, yeah.
And Mayor and Council, just as a reminder, the limitations on some of these funds is the fact that it's our exposure, not other entities' exposure. So we are limited as well in terms of how we would create a sub-recipient to this funding as well. It's for us to use for what we as the city experienced.
Okay.
So this is not just, so clearly, this is not a pool of money that people can just ask us for.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, I'm anxious to see the plan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Me too.
Mayor,
What?
in terms of the opioid settlement fund, are those funds able to be used for medication-assisted treatment like methadone, or like there's a word that I can't pronounce, but it's buprenorphine, which is the one of the opioid blockers?
Mayor and council, yes, there are agencies and organizations that provide treatment that could potentially qualify for these dollars.
And then my second question, my last question is, could it also be used for shelter or housing services for folks coming out of the misdemeanor repeat offender program?
Mayor and council, that's something that we could put under review.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And the remaining supplemental requests are grant carryovers. These are previously awarded funds that must be reappropriated to continue the active programs.
Mayor, I have one more question. Sorry. What is the state GF-VCP project? What does that stand for?
Mayor, members of the council, that's the Veterans Community Project.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Development Services has a budget of $9 million, and they have 53 FTEs. Their purpose is to provide exceptional customer service using sound planning and building practices, safeguarding the community, and ensuring quality development. They are requesting 4 one-time items from the general fund, $30,000 for consulting services related to the Unified Development Code, $450,000 for the general plan rewrite, $15,000 for historic preservation plaques, and $200,000 for additional inspection services to manage current workload demands. So now we have economic development, and they have a budget of $6.3 million and $19.75. This is prior to the movement of the Special Events Division. After that division is moved to parks, their budget will be about $5 million, and then they'll have a 16.75 FTEs. And their purpose is to foster economic vitality by facilitating activities that attract new businesses, support existing businesses, and ensure a diverse and sustainable economy. They have 4 requests from the general fund, $2,000 ongoing to the GPEC membership, another $2,300 ongoing for the Tohono O'odham funding, and $300,000 one time for the Tourism Investment Fund. From the Arts Commission Fund, there is a $45,000 ongoing increase in the community activity line to support expanded arts programming.
Mayor, I have a question. What is the exactly involved in the Tohono O'odham funding? What is that?
Mayor, Councilmember Guzman, Tohono O'odham gives the city a grant-funded amount, and it increases by a percentage every year. So basically, we bring this forward every year to add for that addition of the grant funding.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I would also like to ask about more information about the $300,000 for the tourism investment fund. What kind of things will that be funding?
Councilmember Cochos, that 300,000 is developed, or actually to enhance some of our attractions that we're able to go after that would benefit the community, that would be an economic driver. We have put bids in the past, but that is continually used to attract events that would be beneficial for Glendale and the residents.
Mayor, before you leave, is it to help offset is it to help offset some of the cost, or exactly specifically how is it used? To advertise, marketing only, or is it used, I know sometimes, do we work with the arena on trying to attract things? I'd like a little bit more detail.
Correct, Mayor, Council, that is exactly correct. So we use that to attract, I'll give you an example, the McDonald's All-American Championships that's coming to Glendale, we did use a portion of that to attract that event. And we'll continue to evaluate and look at bids of what acts and events that could come that would be beneficial.
Okay, I just wanted, because that's my understanding that I know we've done volleyball, we've attracted volleyball tournaments in the stadium. Those are maybe not high-profile events, but people travel from all over the country, so it fills up our hotel rooms, people eat in our restaurants, so people travel for those things. They're good events, so I just wanted to make sure that for anybody who might be watching, that's what we use that money for, because we really do get a good return on that investment.
We do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trent. Emergency Management operates with a budget of $820,000, and they have 4 FTEs. Their purpose is to support the protection of life, property, and environment by leveraging industry best practices and working with the public and stakeholders to educate, plan, organize, equip, train, and exercise, creating a safe and resilient city. They have one request this year, and it's a reduction of $81,000 from the general fund, representing the transfer of the utility budget from emergency management to facilities. This realignment is a corresponding increase appears, you'll see it in the field ops budget, and it's not a cost reduction citywide, just a movement of funds. Field operations has a budget of almost $79 million, and they have 196 FTEs across 4 divisions: facilities, landfill, solid waste, and fleet. The department's purpose is to protect, sustain, and improve the health and safety of the community through innovation, education, communication, and collaboration by supporting critical functions, facilities, and assets in a cost-effective and data-driven manner. Field Ops has several requests across multiple funds from the general fund: $350,000 one time for citywide janitorial services, $225,000 ongoing reduction reflecting a transfer of park maintenance funding to the Parks Department, $10,000 one time for facility travel expenses, about $221,000 one time for increased contractual funding for complex work repair, $73,000 for ongoing for the utility budget transfer from emergency management, and 1 FTE for a lead trades worker. And then from the vehicle replacement fund, $384,000 one time for 8 vehicles support the new police officers.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Explain to me the citywide janitorial supplemental.
Mayor, Councilmember Guzman, so we have a citywide contract for janitorial services where we outsource all the janitorial work among the different departments. That contract experienced a increase, as mentioned by Ms. Hall earlier, due to the minimum wage. Sorry, I couldn't think for a second. Minimum wage increasing, and so the vendor requested, as part of that extension of the contract, an increase because of that cost that is now being passed on to them because of the minimum wage increase. So each department that uses janitorial staff on a contractual basis will have this supplemental.
Okay, so is each department use the same company?
Yes.
Okay, can we ask, can I ask how much did it increase? What were we paying before?
Mayor, council member, I don't know off the top of my head, but we can definitely get that number for you.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question I had is, where it says facilities move park maintenance funding to parks from facilities, why is that being done?
We'll turn that question over to Ms. Watenko
Okay.
and Mr. Kennedy.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Several years ago, I think during the economic downturn, facilities would maintain lighting in parks. And in collaboration with the Parks Department, we determined that we have this done via contract. It's well taken care of, and we just want to transfer the oversight of that contract and the funding associated with it now to go back to parks so they can manage their parks a little bit better.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Microphone on. Where is it? The training facility revenue, grip stick, professional and contractual, one time $605,000. What is that for? I don't know. Does anybody know? Pardon me?
59.
Yeah, on, it's on
Slide
this, on
59
the
is the
slide, yeah,
second
it's on
item from
slide
the bottom.
59, it's the second one from the bottom.
Yeah.
I just like to know what that is for, I don't.
So, morning, Mayor and Council, Councilmember Selmanshoff. I was just giving, Jonathan wasn't to that page yet, so. So the $605,000 for gripstick professional and contractual is for, so there are two issues we're dealing with at gripstick. One is the fire sprinkler distribution system, and the second is for just the ongoing professional and contractual needed for bird mitigation, rodent infestation, and other just things that we do for gripstick that we do across the city. So just repeated cleanings, mitigation within it. So you saw the citywide supplemental for janitorial services. There's a little bit increase in janitorial. So this is everything we do, professional and contractual at gripstick.
Okay.
The big two items are the fire distribution system, and then rodent infestation, bird mitigation, and janitorial make up that 605.
Okay. Thank you. Are we going to have to replace the sprinkler system there?
This is, yes, this is for it's compromised in certain areas, and this will bring it back. So it is working completely and brings those areas that are deficient in that fire sprinkler system
Okay.
back to code.
All right, and I'm going to skip ahead again, so sorry, but this is probably an easy one. The utility budget from emergency management to facilities, but it shows $8,000, and under emergency management, it's $81,000.
Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Tomachoff. So slide 58 has 73,400 of that transfer, and then slide 60 has the other 8,000. So that those two amounts together equal the 81,000 that's being moved out of emergency.
prorated.
Yes, so
Okay.
part of it's going to gripstick and part of it's going to general fund facilities.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So continuing with their request, the first one on the screen is $686,000 one time for the fleet unfunded vehicle replacement plan. That's 7 vehicles per year for police, about $35,000, and then $35,000 for a vehicle for new forensic manager, $130,000 for 2 vehicles for new park service workers, $68,000 for a vehicle for the new leach trades worker, and then from the gripstick or training facility revenue fund, $60,000 one time for janitorial, $605 that Michelle mentioned, and then $27,000 ongoing for utility increases. And then we have $8,000 that Ms. Lindsay just mentioned. And then from the landfill fund, we have $4,500 one time for janitorial, $80,000 ongoing for alternative daily covers, tarps, $25,000 for ongoing for credit card fees, $30,000 ongoing for gas management services, $30,000 ongoing for security services, $70,000 ongoing for software maintenance, and then the last one from fleet is $65,000 ongoing for GPS equipment. Now we'll move on to fire. They have a budget of $78.2 million and 304 FTEs. Their purpose is to make the community safer through innovative fire, medical, preventative, and customer service. Fire service requests from the general fund, $15,500 ongoing for 12 additional AEDs, $250,000 ongoing for cancer screenings, about $66,000 for ongoing for data wireless services for iPads and heart monitors, $17,000 ongoing for Imatran records management system, and $20,000 ongoing for the PS Trax contract. And then from Gripstick Fund, $7,400 one time for defensive tactics, room mats, almost $24,000 one time for Max Firebox training device, and $470,000 one time for PD range targets.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is PS Trax contract?
We'll defer that question to our fire chief.
Hello, everyone, Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Guzman. That is our inventory management system that runs out of our logistics center.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor? Oh, don't go anywhere.
Yeah, don't go. We have more questions.
Are you done?
No.
Okay.
Okay, on page 35 of the budget book, under not recommended supplementals, there was a paramedic school tuition and books. Can somebody explain that to me?
Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Guzman, we were on part of our council item of special interest paramedic support program. We've been hiring paramedics ever since then. We're now getting close to our 58%, which is what you agreed to. That number was to train 12 paramedics next fiscal year. As we get closer, we've squeezed that down to the need for 6 more to get to that 58%. And then we've identified funding inside of our own budget with our spending plans that will be able to cover the 6 students.
Okay, so this request here, it's not necessary then, okay, all right. The other thing, the new helmets for operations staff.
Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Guzman, again, when we went back into our purchase orders where we encumbered dollars at the beginning of the year to make our purchases out of our resource management logistics supply chain, we've identified we have about 50 POs that we are able to go back into with our spending plans and reevaluate the priority of spending this fiscal year. And we're able to identify about $166,000 of reprioritized money to get those helmets this year. Now we'll purchase 300 this year and get them here before the July. And then we'll go through the same exercise next year and then use attrition of equipment to replace the ongoing helmets that we need to replace.
Okay, and then the turnout budget increase.
Similar, Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Guzman, the same exercise of the unencumbrance of our purchase orders. We looked at our spending plans for next fiscal year. So we're not going without. So instead of buying 10, we'll buy 9 to capture some of those cost increases in the market.
Okay, so you're not going without then?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, those were 3 or 4 of my questions. Thank you. So, but what is RWC cost? What does that mean?
Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Tomachov, that's the Regional Wireless Cooperative. That is the radio infrastructure that all of the Metro Phoenix region uses for their radio communications. So we pay into that fee, all of us, not just Glendale. And what we've learned is that bill comes mid-year. So it's really a swag of what it will be. And traditionally, we see credits back to Glendale that capture that. And then again, the repurposing of our spending plans in the year, we felt comfortable with budget that we'd be able to cover those costs next fiscal year within the budget you already give us.
All right, very good, thank you.
I think you're done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. The two additional requests are from the grip stick. They're $23,000 one time for shade structure and $10,000 ongoing for shop and fuel costs. Human Resource has a budget of $77.9 million, and they have 32 FTEs. Their mission is to create an inclusive and safe environment for employees, customers, and residents through collaboration and excellent customer service, characterized by fairness, open communication, accountability, trust, and respect. Human Resources has 4 requests for the general fund, an ongoing reduction of $53,000 to eliminate temp pay for the wellness technician position, now moving to the benefits trust fund, and a $10,000 ongoing reduction reflecting the GEEK budget transfer to the city manager's office.
I have a question. What does a wellness technician do?
We'll defer that question to our Human Resources Director, Mr. Jim Brown.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor and Council, Councilmember Guzman. Our wellness technician, we've had this as a temporary position for the last 3 or 4 years, I believe. But our wellness technician supports our wellness program manager in providing our wellness fairs, we recently had a Glendale 5K where our employees in the community participated in that, and all of the different wellness events that we provide to our employees. This technician helps out our program manager with that. And as we have, and we're needing to move this to a full-time position instead of a temp. As we move to now bringing online a fitness center for our employees as we move to the new city hall, we're going to need some additional assistance with making sure that employees are trained. We also have some a recharge facility that's coming on board as well, or online as well. And so that helps with the scheduling, ensuring things are clean, maintained, all of those types of things. So this position will help with those things.
So now it's just going to be a temporary now, but next year you're anticipating that it's going to be full-time?
Mayor, Councilmember Guzman, it's been temporary, but this year we need to bring that online as a regular status. So that's the request in the supplemental.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So was this wellness technician that's now going to be necessary for the red light therapy and fitness things that are going to be available to some employees in City Hall? Was that built into the cost? Because I know we didn't know this was happening until bless you. We didn't know this was happening until we saw something on a voting meeting. I don't remember what it was that we saw, but I wasn't aware we were doing I can't even think of the name of them. What's the thing called with the red light therapy?
The recharge.
The recharge rooms. Thank you. So was that built because we were told what the cost was going to be? I think it came out to about $300,000 per year if every employee participated. Was this employee built into that cost?
Vice Mayor, Councilmember Tomenshoff, I don't believe it was. This temporary position has been in place for a few years, even before the recharge. So it has been a need that we've had to assist our program manager in wellness. We've significantly grown our wellness program for our employees. We've got more participants. We've got more activities. We have so much more going on now for our employees. So it's not only, it will assist with the recharge, but it's not solely for that. We've got, again, the fitness center, other things coming online. And this is not, I don't believe this cost has been built into the recharge costs.
All right, thank you. I do have another question. Where in the budget is whether we're doing COLA plus merit, where is that in the budget? I couldn't find it anywhere.
Mayor, or Vice Mayor, members of the council, slide 23 We're recommending a 3% cost of living adjustment and then up to 2% for merit increases for staff, for non-represented staff.
How did I miss that? Under, what's it under?
Mayor, members of the council, it's reflected in the personnel section of each one of the department's budgets. It's on slide 23 of the slide presentation. In addition, there's also a class and comp study that we have a 2% increase built into the budget to cover those costs as well.
Okay, all right, I missed it. Thank you.
Continuing with Human Resources request, they're requesting to the Benefits Trust Fund about $3.5 million ongoing increase to cover the rising employee benefits cost, and then the wellness technician, which was discussed. All right, now I'll turn over to Ms. Lindsay.
So Innovation and Technology has a budget of $34.9 million and 53 FTEs. Their purpose is to empower the city by providing reliable, secure, innovative, and efficient technology services and solutions. From the the Technology Operating Fund, there are 2 new FTEs, a business analyst at $125,746 and an IT project coordinator. Both of those positions are ongoing. These 2 positions were contract positions previously, and IT has reduced their contractual budget line to support these 2 FTEs. Additional ongoing requests include $56,000 for the Munis application programming interface, $284,000 for software maintenance increases, $109,000 for website improvement tools, and $452,000 one-time for temporary IT staffing.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Under temporary staff for IT, you have a one-time of $452,000. Can you explain why we need that and what it actually you're asking for there?
Mayor, members of the council, Steve Martin can answer that question, but before he does that, this is something we've had in IT for a number of years, so he'll explain what it is, but it's actually been reduced. So in previous years, it was as much as $750,000.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor and members of the council. Steve Martin, CIO. Yes, these positions are essentially gap-filling positions that are required in order to get the work done. So, for example, we'll have additional project work that comes on, or we just have ongoing tasks that we do not have sufficient headcount to deliver the way we need to deliver. So we bolster our staff with contractual support. It is just a one-time ask each year because we realize it's subject to budget approval, but it is something that is ongoing and continuous.
And how many staff?
Mayor and council, it varies depending on the situation, but for example, we have upwards of 5 to 6 per year at various times throughout the year.
Okay, all right, thank you.
From the Technology Projects Fund, we have $72,000 in one-time for an AI chatbot for the city's website.
Mayor?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know, would you prefer we wait till you get all the way through the list or just ask our questions? I don't want to.
Mayor, members of the council, whichever you prefer.
Okay, I feel like I'm interrupting, but on the website improvement tools, is that, what is that DOJ compliance, or what exactly is included in the website improvement tools?
Mayor and council, Councilmember Thomas Rupp, that is for exactly what you said. It's website improvement tools, which include ADA compliance tools that we have recently brought our website to be standardized according to what we're required to do, as well as other things like that. As you're aware, we recently changed our public website, updated it, modernized it. There was a lot of tools and services that are associated with that. And the next item down is sort of part of that as well, the AI chatbot.
And thank you for that. That wasn't going to be my next question. When are we going to be rolling that out?
Mayor, members of the council, that is an ongoing project. I don't have the exact date in my mind right now, but I know it is in flight currently.
Okay, I look forward to it. Thank you.
The next slide is projects that are in the Technology Project Fund. $525,800 for airport security cameras and access control. $135,000 for an application portfolio management tool. $200,000 for an audiovisual master plan. $90,000 for a citywide project management tool, and $250,000 for a fiber master plan.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you explain the fiber master plan, please?
Mayor, members of the council, the Fiber Master Plan is a concerted effort by 3 city departments, which includes IT, engineering, and transportation, for us to develop a 10-year plan for all of our fiber connectivity for all city sites and facilities. Today, we don't have a solid plan. We do know where our fiber is, but we don't have a plan for how we need to enhance it, augment, or otherwise build out our network to ensure resiliency through all facilities. And that plan is going to endeavor to create all of that. That is currently in flight.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The next slide has additional technology projects, including $600,000 for Microsoft modernization, $200,000 for network enhancements, $20,000 for the Are You OK Care Call Reassurance Program, $455,000 for transitioning telecommunications to Microsoft Teams Voice, and $75,000 for UKG Pro WFM system optimization.
Okay, I have another question. Sorry, I really need to understand what these are. What is an RUO OK Care Reassurance Program?
Mayor, members of the council, this is a call system that's designed for if someone is not responding, an employee, let's say, and there's something going on and you're trying to make sure that it's like a wellness call check thing. I'm not as familiar with this. I know this existed for some time here. And I want to say that one time is related to upgrades. I have some other experts here who could probably answer better, but that's more or less what it is.
Oh, okay, and then the telecommunications transition to Teams Voice. Explain that to me. What is involved in that?
Mayors and members of the council, we have a phone system today that is a traditional phone system where you have a phone on your desk and you make and take calls. This is essentially a replacement for that system. Our current system is end of life. It's on best effort support. So our only option is to replace the phone system with another phone system or go with something more modern. And what we were trying to do is transition to Teams Voice, which effectively puts the phone with your computer. So the technology that our employees are using every day that's already in front of them, that effectively becomes their phone system. It functions just like any other phone system in terms of making and taking calls, but it's a little more modern.
And it's all done through the computer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the UKG Pro, that last one, what does that stand for?
Mayors, members of the council, UKG is our timekeeping system for the city, for all of our time cards and whatnot, and these optimizations are post-implementation optimizations that we want to do to improve the existing implementation. For example, adding not additional features per se, but optimizing those features, additional methodologies for managers to be able to manage the time and schedules of their employees and so on.
Okay, and this is for the whole city?
Mayor and
Okay.
council, yes.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, I think the chief may want to come up and talk about the Are You OK program.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor, members of council. So I wanted to add a little clarification for the Are You OK program. That is actually a program that was brought to us by Councilmember Conchas. So to kind of explain what that is it's an automated check-in program primarily designed for our elderly residents. So Maricopa County uses a system like this, and what it allows for is an automated one time a day call to the resident to check in on them, and they can, basically opt, by number on their phone as to whether or not they're doing okay. If they do not answer the phone, then it kind of prompts a secondary phone call, and ultimately, we may end up doing a welfare check on the resident. So this is a program that IT is helping us to develop, and we're hoping that we'll get a lot of resident response from it.
So how do they sign up for it?
It's automated, so it'll be an opt-in or an opt-out, and it's something that we would definitely work with the council and kind of push it out into your districts.
Okay, so then there's going to be further cost as far as how to market it and all that?
So you'll see that on my budget presentation, there's about a $1,500 ongoing expense. So this $20,000 really is for the software program that's going to be designed. It's going to be held in-house. And then the $1,500 is ongoing for that software. So it's established. It's a program that's working with Maricopa County. Sun City's had a lot of residents that have seen a lot of benefit from it. We're also partnering with the fire department. They have a key box program. So part of what we're hoping to do is to implement that program into this. So if we do go for a welfare check, for example, and we're not able to contact the resident, we would be able to either call a neighbor, somebody, a family member, and ultimately have a key to potentially check the house.
So in that case, to have a key, is the city paying to make the key, or is the
No,
resident?
this would be a key that the resident would provide in the lockbox. And that lockbox program is something that the fire department is using currently.
Oh, okay.
Maricopa County uses kind of a key holder program. So for example, if you had a neighbor that you trusted or a trusted family member, and the part is that they have to be close. So we would respond to the house, obviously do a welfare check, and then if we can't get contact with that residence, we would want to check the house.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
That brings us to the mayor and council office. The mayor's office operates with a budget of $676,000 and 4 FTEs. The council office has a budget of $1.7 million and 12 FTEs. Together, the mayor and city council constitute the elected legislative and policy-making body of the city. The mayor is elected at large every 4 years, and the council members serve 4-year terms from one of 6 electoral districts. The mayor.
Question here.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And I spoke to you guys already when I came in, but I just wanted to formally, when the stipend and car allowances were discussed back at the August workshop, the council asked for and staff agreed to bring more transparency by creating some sort of line or something in the budget. I know there's nothing, this is all rolled up anyway. So I just, before we actually, or when we come to the next budget, I would like to see a little more transparency around the stipend and the car allowance. I think that was what we had actually agreed to when we had the conversation. And so, and I mean, I went through the minutes and there seemed to be a consensus to go ahead and do that. So when we come back in April, I would like to see a little more transparency around the stipend and the car allowance, rather, because the budgets are different for districts that are doing the stipend and not doing the stipend. So I just feel like we need to be a little more transparent on how this is being distributed. Thank you.
Ms. Guzman?
No.
Okay, go ahead. I thought you wanted to speak.
No.
Okay, your turn.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to flip our attention over to our 3-ring binders that we've had a little bit of time with. On page 3, we have the full-time, or well, we have the position request summary, the number of employees or FTEs per department, and on page 3 it starts off with the mayor and council office. I think we could provide more public clarity there. The way this is arranged, obviously we have the mayor as one of the full-time, or one of the FTEs. We have the vice mayor, who is also a council member, but I don't think the vice mayor gets any additional funding for that position or anything, so I don't know exactly why we call it out separately in the budget, and it also changes mid-fiscal year. But basically we have, on our 7-member council, we have 6 council members and we have the mayor by title. And we reflect, if you figure it out, we do reflect that we have 6 council assistants, but then, and we clearly have the assistant to the mayor, and then where I'm getting to is we have 2 other positions listed there. One is communications project manager and the other is management assistant. And as far as my understanding is those are assigned to the mayor's office, and I just think that it would be more clear to reflect that in this portion our budget here, just like we have assistant to the mayor, communications project manager, mayor's office, management assistant, mayor's office, so that it's a little more clear to everybody where these employees are assigned. Thank you. And I guess I can, while I have the mic, I can say I concur with the, actually I have another one too. I do concur with the listing out the stipend and car allowance by particular council or mayor's office, because not all of us are taking that, and I think that should be reflected. And then I also don't understand the differences, and I think this came up last year and it was explained, but I've forgotten it. For instance, on page 122 of the binder, so we have the 6 council districts, but they're not all getting the same size budget. Like the Ocotillo district is, and the Yucca districts are significantly less than the other two, or the other 4, I mean. Those 2 are less than the other 4, and I was just trying to figure out what's the difference there? Is it benefits that they don't take that the rest of us do, or what might that be?
Mayor, council members, Councilmember Turner. So I'll see if I can remember all the questions and start with the last one first. So the major difference is that some council members have a part-time assistant versus a full-time assistant. Okay. So obviously when there's a part-time assistant, they don't qualify for benefits if they're 20 hours or less. So that's the major difference between those numbers. With regards to the stipends, we will add that as a slide for the April 28th meeting, if I remember the date right. And it will be shown as fully budgeted across all council member offices, so that if somebody declines it or somebody accepts it, we'll budget for the full amount, and then you all will have the ability to decline or accept. But we need to budget for the full amount, if that answers that question.
I hear the answer, I don't like it. If my office, for instance, if I'm not taking the car allowance and the stipend, I'd rather not show up in my budget.
We can also add the actual column and show it as 0 for those who do not take it.
I can live with that, thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to point out too, though, that Councilmember Turner has elected not to run, and so depending on who fills that seat, beginning in January through June 30th of the second half of this budget, may be accepting it. So I think that's what he's saying, is they have to plan for it depending on whether or not there's an opt-in, opt-out, but we don't know who's going to be the Beryl District council member and whether or not they're going to accept the stipend. So I'm fine with planning for it, and then you can, I don't know exactly how you would show it, because just because somebody opts in doesn't mean that or out, doesn't mean that might change. So I understand the need to plan for it. Thank you.
The mayor and council offices have one supplemental request. It's $4,000 ongoing from the general fund for services and supplies related to new copy equipment. Organizational performance operates with a budget of $909,000 and 3 FTEs. Their purpose is to make Glendale more effective for its residents through transparent, data-driven decision-making and continuous improvement, including administering strategic planning, performance management, and data governance programs. The Organizational Performance Department has one request for the upcoming year. It's $47,000 one time from the general fund for a business survey. This will support strategic goals and improve engagement with the business community to gather feedback on city services, enhance service delivery, communication, and overall business experience. Parks and Recreation has a budget of $23 million and 92 FTEs. Their purpose statement reflects their culture well. They enrich the lives of residents, organizations, and visitors through memorable experiences and learning opportunities, creating an inclusive and fun variety of programming and parks that foster growth, play, and innovation, inspiring lives well lived. As mentioned earlier, the Special Events Division has moved to the Parks Department effective March 21st, which increases their FTE count to 95. Parks and Recreation has several general fund requests. These include $100,000 one-time for an electrical inspection and repairs at City Pool Aquatic Systems, $78,500 one-time for citywide janitorial supplementals, which we've discussed in a couple of other departments, $225,000 ongoing, reflecting the transfer of park maintenance funding from facilities, which Michelle Matenko discussed earlier, and the conversion of ARPA-funded positions to the general fund. $91,391 for a management assistant, $151,000 for 2 park service workers, and $717,000 for 6 recreation programmer positions. Additionally, 2 brand-new park service workers FTEs are being requested at $87,000 ongoing.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you explain the conversion of the management assistants and those 3 from ARPA to the general fund? How does that work?
Mayor, Councilmember Guzman, we'll have John Kennedy address that question, and then I can take kind of the ARPA portion.
Good morning, Mayor and Council, Councilmember Guzman. So the ARPA conversion funds or positions, when we reopened the 3 community centers, that came with various positions, one including a management assistant, and then various recreation coordinators and recreation programmers that were originally funded by ARPA, with the plan that once the ARPA funds would expire, that those would then shift over to the general fund.
Oh, okay, okay. So we're not losing any positions or anything, they're just, the funding's just changing?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And just as a reminder, ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act.
Uh-huh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I see in the supplementals not approved, the tree replacement maintenance. Is that, I mean, and we have a lot of trees that need to be replaced, so is that being absorbed in your budget another way, or what does that mean?
Mayor, Council, Councilmember Tomachoff, yes, we will absorb that expense in some budget savings in our department.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Two more general fund items, $165,500 ongoing for water utility rate increases at parks facilities. The ARPA fund requests are the offsetting reductions for the position conversion. So again, this is the reflection of the ARPA funding being reduced because those positions are moving to the general fund.
And Mayor and Council, just as a reminder, ARPA funds are required to be fully expended by December 31st of 2026. So we are on track to fully expend, and that's why we need to make these changes.
Police Services has a budget of $155.8 million and 631 FTEs. The department is organized across 3 bureaus: Sport Services, Operations, and Investigative and Administrative Services. And their mission is to protect the lives and property of the people they serve. The next 2 slides are the police department's operating budget supplemental requests for fiscal year 27. From the general fund, there are 8 new COPS grant funded police officers at $230,000 one time and $1.2 million ongoing. The transfer of the 1 court officer that we discussed earlier from city court at $141,000 ongoing. $25,000 ongoing for Brass Tracks Acquisition Station. $106,000 ongoing for a forensic specialist, which is converting from a grant position to a permanent position. A new forensics manager at $9,500 one time and $179,000 ongoing. $40,000 ongoing for property and evidence contraband burn. $1,500 ongoing for the Are You OK Care Call Reassurance Program, which the chief mentioned earlier. $42,000 ongoing for the RWC 7-year technology refresh, and $472,630 ongoing for software maintenance increases.
I've got a question for the chief. On the property and evidence contraband burn, do you or does the city own an incinerator, or are we paying somebody else to do that?
Mayor, members of council, we do not own an incinerator. Previously, somebody was doing that service for us for free, along with multiple other agencies in the state. For some reason, they decided to discontinue that service, and so this is a group that comes out with an incinerator. They've done it out at Gripstick for us, which also reduces our travel, costs or that sort of stuff. So to answer your question, no, we do not have our own incinerator at this time.
All right, and the reason I ask is in my previous life, that was one thing that I actually did. I traveled across the nation and installed and repaired incinerators. They're not incredibly expensive, but if this is an ongoing expense that we're going to have each and every year, I would like to maybe in the future start thinking about the city owning its own incinerator, and potentially for $40,000, maybe we could work out something with other cities where maybe we could charge them to incinerate their stuff. So, for what it's
Mayor,
worth.
I'd be willing to explore that.
Okay, very good, thank you. Good. Lauren?
Okay. Do you want to get through the list? Because I have questions on supplementals not recommended, so I'll let you finish.
The continuing police request, there's $100,000 ongoing for the Titan contract and $21,000 ongoing for 9 copiers that they have leased through Xerox. The other grant reduction that you see is the forensic specialist that's being converted from grant funding to full-time. And there's a new FTE request through Gripstick for the new West Valley Law Enforcement Training Academy Director at $13,000 one time and $161,900 ongoing. This position will be shared funding with the other 9 agency partners at $25,000 per partner.
Thank you. So my questions, Chief, are on the 2 detention officers that were requested but not approved. Can you, I mean, it's my understanding anyways that the issue for needing more detention officers is that they can be detained at county for long periods of time. So how are you going to manage without those 2 positions?
Mayor, Councilmember Tomachoff, I can tell you how we're currently doing that. We're using overtime, particularly our officers come in and work overtime shifts, as well as our detention officers work some of those overtime shifts in order to allow for vacations and those sort of things.
I mean, would it be less expensive to have an additional, at least one additional detention officer than, mandatory overtime?
Mayor, Councilmember Tomachoff, I think that absolutely, at some point in time, if we find available funding to support that, I think that we could find good use.
Okay, because it's my understanding sometimes detention officers can be down there for hours before they can get back to, back to Glendale. So I don't know whether we'd like to further explore that. I mean, it's not a lot of money, and especially if we're going to end up in the long run saving, they still have to do the work. Somebody still has to do the work. So whether we're paying overtime for it or hiring an additional body for it, we still have to transport people down to county. I mean, we can't hold them here for a long period of time. So I'm willing to have another conversation about that when we come back on April 28th, if everybody else is. And then the communication specialist, you requested 4. Are those 911 operators, or what exactly is the communication specialist
Yes,
position?
that's correct. They would either be on the call-taking side or the dispatch side, so 911 communication operators.
I mean, 4 seems like a lot to ask of people to ask for. Are we short-staffed in our communications area?
Mayor, Councilmember Tomachoff, we actually currently have less staff in our comm center than we did going back to 2008. So we've had a lot of vacancies there, and I really haven't been in a place where we could come forward and ask for additional staff until this year, because our vacancies, we weren't filling those up. So really, this is the first time that we've been able to come forward and ask for that. For me, this was just an opportunity to say that we do have a need. We're addressing that need. You know, it takes about a year for a communication specialist to go from being hired to then being, you know, fully functioning within, you know, their discipline. So we're finally getting to that place where we've filled our vacancies. We've seen a change in the market, not just for our comm center, but also for our police officers. So we're trying to take advantage of that change in market. So this is the first time that we've asked for that. So I can see being able to manage that certainly for the next year, and then potentially coming back next year and asking for something similar.
Okay, thank you for that, Chief. I know the technology's improved, and so I know the calls are able to be managed and routed, you know, a lot faster than they were back in the early 2000s. But it's really, really important that we, you know, and I'm glad to hear that you've been able to overcome the issues with the vacancies, because obviously you don't want to ask for new positions when you have vacant positions that you can't fill. But I mean, I know also that I've learned that a lot of times these people get all the way through the training and then they find out that the job just isn't a good fit for them, because it's a really difficult job. It's very fast-paced, it's very high stress. You're hearing, you know, very, very high-level stressful situations. So that's been an ongoing issue, I know, with any city, is, you know, the 911 operators are hugely important to our public safety system. And so I want to, at least for me, make sure that we're as, you know, abundantly staffed as we need to be to deliver the service to residents that are having an emergency. So if you feel like, you know, you're able to manage it, that's great. But if you really need the position, you know, we'd like to know.
Yes.
So, Mayor, Councilmember Tomachoff, if I can add to that a little bit too, one of the benefits that we've had is hiring laterals. So Glendale is certainly a place in which not just our communications folks want to come and work, but also police officers, and I think that has helped us. So some of the folks that we're hiring, in fact, a lot of the folks that we're hiring, particularly in comm, are already trained, whether they're coming from another state or whether they're coming from within the Metro Phoenix area. So that's been helpful as well. So they've already established that they're committed to the profession, and so that has helped us kind of bridge that gap as well.
Well, that brings me to my very last question, Chief, and I lost track of it. The increase in new officers cost, that was the item for $80,000. And are we still offering hiring bonuses for lateral police officers? And was that to increase our ability to hire laterals, or what was the $80,000 requested for?
Mayor, Councilmember Tomachoff, the increased cost associated with new officers essentially is, you know, just as everything, the cost of everything has gone up, so has the cost of the uniforms that we purchase and all of the equipment that I'm wearing. Expensive. So we've seen an increase in our own costs when we go to the uniform store to outfit a brand new police officer. And so that was to address that. And so we're looking, you know, through other areas where we could potentially absorb that. But that is a cost that I would expect probably to come back and ask for in the future as well.
Okay.
But again, you know, I think that we're doing fine. Last year, this time, when I was here, we had 30 vacancies, 30 police officer vacancies. That has certainly been a focus of mine over the last year. And as of last week, I'm pleased to tell you that we're down to 8 vacancies. And so, again, you know, that's not me. That is, I have an outstanding group of folks that are hiring police officers. The market has changed a little bit. And so those costs are associated with all of the expense related to this outfit that we all wear.
It's very sharp, by the way. Thank you for that. And I just like to say also that that's one of the things in previous budget presentations. I mean, you've been able to show us crime reduction in, you know, property crime, violent crime, assaults, that type of thing. And so that's one of the things that we're not getting today. So I think that's really important information, because I know you've done, and the chiefs that were before you have done a really good job. And I know we've reduced our violent crimes significantly in Glendale. So that's information that's valuable to us as a council, that you're succeeding in your leadership with our department in reducing crime. But it's an important thing for our residents also to know. So I look forward to having that information at some point. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So Chief, are you saying that, that you're not in need of any new 911 operators?
Mayor, Councilmember Guzman, I will tell you that I would be crazy to stand here and tell you that I could not use more 911 operators. But I can tell you that this was the first time that we brought this request forward. Again, we just never have been in a position to ask because we couldn't fill the ones that we were asking for. So moving forward, I think that we're in a place where we can manage for another year, and then we'll evaluate things, and then potentially come back and ask for additional next year. But we'll continue. Hopefully the hiring situation continues. A year from now, I think that we'll be in a different position again, because it takes 1 year from hire to being fully operational. And so hopefully we're still in a good position next year when I come forward.
And then, like Councilmember Tomachoff had mentioned about the cost, the $80,000, I would be in favor of granting that, because if our officers are in need of assistance with, like you said, uniforms or whatever, I think that we should be able to provide that.
Mayor, Councilmember Guzman, I would also like to offer that City Manager's Office has been very good in working with us to identify areas for one-time funding to support that, to get us through the next year. So I don't know specifically, but I can tell you that a great number of those things that you've seen there, the City Manager's Office worked with us to try to identify one-time money through our own savings and in other ways. And I do believe that one is one of those that they're going to help us to get through at least this year.
All right, good. Okay, thank you.
That brings us to transportation.
Mayor, I'd like to ask, when you bring us back if you could, Chief, your statistics, can you also include then, so we can actually make an informed decision about the 911 operators, what is the wait time, that type of information for our communications, so that we, at least as a council, before we say, if we want to say, we feel like that's too long of a wait time, that we want to go ahead and hire 2 more, but we can't just pull things out of the sky. So when you bring us that information, I'd like to have a good understanding of what is our wait time when somebody calls 911. Are they waiting on the phone for a couple of minutes before an operator is able to pick up? I think we need to know that.
Yeah. Also, increase in calls, the numbers from previous years.
Mayor, council members, absolutely. That's something I'll bring forward. Also bring forward kind of some of the technology that we're using. There's AI technology and things that we're using and testing in that area. So I'll bring that forward too. But that's been very good for us.
It prioritizes the call so they can know that I need to answer this one like right now.
Mayor, Councilmember Tomachoff, that's correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Transportation has a budget of $46.3 million and 119.75 FTEs. Their purpose is to ensure safe and efficient circulation of vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian traffic, to minimize pollutant air emissions, and to promote economic development throughout the city. The next 3 slides are the Transportation Department's operating budget supplemental request for fiscal year 27. From the HERF Fund, $268,000 for ongoing for right-of-way landscape maintenance contract increases, $146,000 one-time for a right-of-way chipper replacement, $67,000 for ongoing for right-of-way landscape maintenance plan, $25,000 one-time for a sign printer replacement, $125,000 ongoing for signs and markings contract increases, and $244,000 one-time plus $19,300 ongoing for traffic signal equipment and maintenance. Additional HERF requests include $98,000 ongoing for electricity cost increases. Moving to transportation, the Transportation Grant Fund, $6.4 million one-time for regional funding for fixed route transit services. And then transportation sales tax requests include $37,000 ongoing for intelligent transportation systems, $82,000 ongoing for street light contractual increases, $44,000 ongoing for a new transit service worker FTE, and $2,500 ongoing for electricity cost increases.
Vice Mayor? Thank you. The new transit worker, Is this for Dial-A-Ride, or what is the new transit worker for?
Mayor and council, I'm sorry, vice mayor and council members. This one is currently a contract employee who performs cleaning of buses and addressing needs at the bus stops, various bus stops. And we are converting that contract position into an FTE position.
Okay, so it's not adding an additional staff. I know the conversation of ride choice is still, and how we're going to manage that paratransit program is still ongoing. So that was what I was just curious if we were hiring new drivers, if we're maybe going to be making any changes to the program. So that's not what this is.
Vice mayor and council members, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
From the Airport Special Revenue Fund, $70,000 one-time plus $16,950 ongoing for airport equipment repairs and software, and $20,000 ongoing for electricity cost increases at the airport.
I have a question real quick. Go ahead. Councilmember Tomajoff, the program that you were talking about, it's not, is it the rideshare one?
Ride choice.
Ride choice, yeah. Is that something that should be included here?
Mayor and council, if I may, right choice right now, what's offered is a service that is for regional trips. So trips that either originate or terminate within the city of Glendale. So a resident either leaving the city or coming back to the city. That service is provided by the region, Valley Metro. And under contract, currently, they're under IGA, they're providing that service through FY26. Starting FY27, those costs would become regional costs as part of Proposition 479.
Okay, so we're not paying for any of that.
Starting FY27, the budget that we are discussing, we would not be paying for those expenses.
Okay.
Mayor? Thank you. So, but the conversation is still ongoing on whether we're going to make any changes to how we're offering our paratransit riders a ride, right? I mean, I know the contract is still out with Valley Metro. We can't even make plans because we don't really know what the cost is going to be for if we decided to move the ride choice program over to have managed by Valley Metro. We don't know what the cost is yet because that contract's still in the RFP stage. Is that right?
Mayor and council, that is correct. So there's still, I'll present the total picture of what's happening with Proposition 479 in transit. I think that would be useful for council. So Proposition 479 was passed, but the funding for it for transit wasn't going to be made available until FY27, so coming July. The plan that was put together about 2019, 2020 timeframe for the original proposition ballot measure, the costs have gone up so much for some of for the fixed route transit services and all the paratransit services that are provided by the region. What was identified as could be funding that would come to the city to offset the city's contribution towards transit services is not what we thought it was going to be. Now, we don't have the final numbers like Councilmember Tomalchoff mentioned. Those are still being discussed, and also some of the contracts associated are also not in their final form. So while that information is being worked on, the councilman of special interest that Councilmember Tomalchoff had for right choice. So all these things will be coming back and presenting that to council and discussing that. But in the interim, like Councilmember Tomalchoff mentioned, without final information, the best information we have today is what we are discussing.
Okay, thank you.
That brings us to the Water Services Department. Water Services has a budget of $86 million and 221 FTEs. Their purpose is to support the community now and into the future by providing efficient and reliable water services. The next 3 slides are the Water Services operating budget supplemental requests for fiscal year 27. From the Water Fund, $18,500 one-time for the citywide janitorial contract increase. $46,000 ongoing for the building maintenance increases. $1 million ongoing for increased chemical costs, which is one of the largest cost drivers. $139,000 ongoing for electricity. $76,000 ongoing for line supplies. $221,000 ongoing for professional and contractual services. $18,000 ongoing for professional development, and $475,000 ongoing for raw water cost increases.
I have a question, Mayor. Can you explain what the increase for professional and contractual services are? The 221,000, what is that for?
Mayor and council will defer that question to Director of Water Services, Ron Serio.
Mayor, council members, that item is specifically for service contracts that we have with outside providers. And specifically, the biggest items in there are outside laboratory services. We have a compliance lab, and if they're not able to provide all the testing we need, we contract that out. And then the other one is for utility cuts. Anytime there is work that's done in the right-of-way, we have to cut the roads open and make repairs. And we have outside contractors that we bring in to actually patch the streets and sidewalks. So that's where the biggest increases are.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Continuing the water fund request, there's $160,000 ongoing for sanitation charges, $141,000 ongoing for SCADA software, and 2 new FTEs, an industrial maintenance planner schedule at $119,000 ongoing, and a senior systems administrator at $2,689 one time and $168,720 ongoing. From the sewer fund, $6,500 one time for janitorial increases, $62,000 ongoing for building maintenance, and a new water services system technician FTE at $51,689 one time and $90,670 ongoing.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
On the new FTEs, when I had taken a tour out there, when I first became a council member, there was only one person that was manning all of the room and everything for the water treatment plant that I was at. Is this one of those positions? Because I remember talking to Mr. Serio, and he had mentioned that you needed another person to help.
Mayor, Councilmember Guzman, we funded that position last year.
Okay, so it was that one.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
funded
all right.
last year.
Thank you.
The final slide with sewer fund requests, we have $150,000 ongoing for chemicals, $775,000 ongoing for increased costs at the 91st Avenue wastewater treatment plant, $74,000 ongoing for electricity, $30,000 ongoing for line supplies, $35,000 ongoing for professional and contractual, $16,000 ongoing for professional development, and $8,000 ongoing for sanitation charges. And that concludes the department presentations for today's workshop. We've covered a lot of information today, so I want to thank all the departments for their thorough preparation for this presentation. And at this point, we're happy to take any questions from council on any of the materials we've talked about today.
Just one general question regarding the cost of fuel. I didn't see a lot of increases in the cost of fuel, and I know we've seen a big increase in what may change. It may go back down, or it may not. How are we going to accommodate that in our budget for the next fiscal year if that doesn't come down?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, so, yeah, unfortunately, as we put together this presentation, fuel prices have, I guess you could use the term surged. One of the things that we always have within every departmental budget, general fund, the other funds, is contingency. If fuel prices continue to stay high, our plan would be probably to tap contingency. Obviously, under the rules that have been established by the council, any use of contingency is we are required to come back to the council for that approval. So that would be probably the plan we would follow. And that's really because we don't know how long these increases are going to be in effect.
If you did, you'd be a rich man.
Mayor? I'd just like to thank everyone for bearing with me on all my questions.
Go ahead.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'd also like to thank all of the staff for all of your hard work in putting this together. And excuse me for stepping away. I have a work meeting every Monday at the same time. And so I appreciate the flexibility. But thank you to everyone for all of your hard work on this budget.
City manager, anything that you need to add?
Mayor, members of the council, no, thank you.
All right. What do you need from us?
Nothing at this time, Mayor. Just as a reminder, our next budget workshop will be on April 28th during a regular workshop, and we will be presenting the total tentative budget, including operating CIP, debt, and contingency. And we will bring information that council has requested back as part of that presentation.
All right, very good. There being no further business before the council, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.